Teams were circling, hungry. Dallas, Denver, even Vegas allegedly sniffing around. Everyone wanted a piece of Shedeur, and for good reason. You don't need a PhD in quarterback mechanics to see it. The kid has it. Pocket awareness, calm under pressure, swagger that doesn't feel forced. And yet, the Browns? The Browns decided to act like he was expendable. Worse, they downplayed him. They treated a potential franchise QB like a late-round experiment, while giving the starting reins to Joe Rust Mode Flacco.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Now, this isn't a Flacco slander piece. He's a Super Bowl champ, he's got experience, and when he's hot, he can still drop dimes. But let's not pretend he's 2012 Flacco. He's 39. He's not mobile. And he spent the first game of the season looking like someone who accidentally walked onto the field thinking it was alumni night. Sacks, picks, 3 and outs. It was like watching a quarterback try to run through molasses while blindfolded. And meanwhile, Shedeur stood on the sideline like a loaded weapon they refused to fire. And that, right there, is where the karma comes in. Because while Kevin Stefanski and the Browns brass were busy trying to downplay Sanders' role, to manage expectations, control the narrative, and maybe, just maybe, squeeze out a last-minute trade offer that would make them look like geniuses, the football gods were watching. And they don't play nice with arrogance. By halftime, fans weren't just angry, they were chanting. Loud. We want Shedeur. Social media was already erupting. Clips of Flacco's interceptions being cut to sad violin music, while the camera kept catching Sanders with his helmet in his hand. Watching. Waiting. And honestly, you could feel the tension. That weird mix of regret and stubbornness. As if the Browns were realizing, in real time, that they might have just screwed themselves. Because, let's be honest, Shedeur Sanders isn't some hidden gem anymore. The secret's out. And with every misstep Flacco makes, with every trade offer they ignore, the pressure to do something grows. But here's the kicker. The Browns thought they were playing chess. They thought they could slow play this. Field offers. Test the waters. See if someone would overpay for a rookie with hype, but no NFL starts. And now, they're standing in a burning room, holding a match, asking how the fire started. Because you don't get to downplay a player, ignore public momentum, and then expect the world not to notice when your plan A falls apart. That's not strategy, that's hubris. And Kevin Stefanski? He's front and center in this mess. This was supposed to be his redemption year. The season he proves he can lead this team to more than wild card heartbreak. But right out of the gate, he made a choice that could haunt him all year. He trusted the old model over the future. He clung to comfort instead of adapting. And now, with fans chanting for a QB he buried on the depth chart, the weight is falling squarely on his shoulders. Because here's the truth that everyone in that building knows, but no one wants to say out loud. The Browns are better with Shedeur Sanders on the field. And it's not even about stats. He hasn't played a full NFL game yet. But you can feel it. The energy changes when he's around. Players listen. The locker room steadies. And when he takes warm-up snaps, everyone watches. Because leadership doesn't always come with a stat line. It comes with presence. And Shedeur has presence. Which is exactly why teams are throwing calls at Cleveland like they're bidding on a rare artifact. They want him. They need him. And every time the Browns say no, his value rises. But here's the terrifying part. What happens if the Browns say yes too late? Because let's play this out. Let's say Flacco keeps starting, keeps underperforming. The team drops 3-4 games early. And then they panic. They throw Shedeur in midseason, expecting a miracle. At that point, you've already poisoned the well. You didn't believe in him when it mattered. And now you want him to fix what you broke? Good luck with that. Or worse, they actually pull the trigger. They trade him. And sure, they get a nice package in return. Draft picks. Maybe a solid rotational player. But the second they watch Shedeur light it up on another team, leading, rallying, winning, oh, that's going to be pain. Public, national television level pain. The kind of regret that doesn't go away with a single win. The kind of regret that hangs in the rafters for years. And don't get it twisted. If the Browns trade Sanders and he succeeds elsewhere, that's on them. Not the fans. Not the media. Them. Because you had the guy. You watched him every day in practice. You saw the spark, and you chose to look away. Why? Ego? Old school thinking? Some twisted need to prove that experience always beats potential? Because here's the thing. Potential is dangerous when ignored. It turns into resentment, into questions, into what-ifs that eat a team alive from the inside out. And right now, the Browns are flirting with that danger like it won't bite back. But it will. It always does. And for Shedeur, this has to be the weirdest welcome to the NFL ever. Loved by the fans, respected by teammates, coveted by rival teams, and yet treated like an afterthought by his own coaches. Talk about emotional whiplash. But here's where it gets interesting. Because despite all the noise, despite the swirling chaos and the media frenzy, Shedeur hasn't cracked. No cryptic tweets. No diva behavior. Just quiet focus. Preparation. Control. That, my friends, is terrifying. In the best way. Because if he ever does get that starting nod, and let's be honest, it's coming, he's not walking into the game bitter. He's walking in ready. With receipts. With poise. With a locker room that already respects him more than management realizes. And when that moment happens, when Shedeur finally steps onto the field in a Browns jersey with purpose, you'll hear it, not just in the stadium, but through the league. A shift. A ripple. The realization that this rookie wasn't hype. He was hope. Hope the Browns didn't know how to handle. So now the question becomes, will Cleveland fix this before it's too late? Will they admit the mistake? Will Stefanski swallow his pride and give the kid the keys? Or will they double down on old decisions and watch their season implode while Shedeur shines in another jersey? Because at this point, it's not just about wins. It's about legacy. And right now, the Browns are dangerously close to writing another chapter in their long, tragic book of what could have been. But this time, they can't say they didn't know. They can't pretend the signs weren't there. The karma already came for them in week 1. And if they keep ignoring the message, well, karma doesn't usually stop with one warning. So what do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders the answer the Browns refuse to see, or the one they'll regret letting go forever? Let me know in the comments. And if you're into watching football teams set themselves on fire in real time, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We've got front row seats to the drama, and this ride is just getting started. Not just a game, not just a moment, not just a potential win against a beatable team. No, what the Browns are currently fumbling, in full view of the world, is the rarest currency in the NFL, a young quarterback with poise, presence, and the backing of a locker room before he's even been given the damn chance to fail. And those don't grow on trees, Cleveland. You can't scout that on tape or coach it into someone during film study. You either have it or you don't. And somehow, Shedeur Sanders has it all, and he hasn't even started a regular season game, which makes the Browns' current situation all the more infuriating. It's like watching someone find a winning lottery ticket, and instead of cashing it, they frame it and hang it in the hallway. And look, I get it. Quarterback situations are tricky. You don't want to rush a rookie. You don't want to disrupt chemistry. You don't want to divide a locker room or feed the media monster that lives off QB controversy. But here's the twist. The team already loves him. Reports, quiet ones, the kind that leak from behind closed doors, say Shedeur has been running scout team like surgeon. Teammates have noticed. Veterans. Coaches. People who've been around long enough to smell phony leadership from a mile away. And what do they see in Sanders? Real. That rare quality you can't fake, no matter how much media training you've had. So what's the delay? What's the actual holdup? Is it ego? Is it fear? Is it a front office too terrified of being wrong to admit they've already been wrong? Because let's be clear, this isn't about waiting for the right time. This is about saving face. Stefanski and company stake their reputation on sticking with veterans, on slow cooking the rookie, on controlling the narrative. And now that the script is falling apart, they're desperately trying to hold it together with duct tape and post-game platitudes. You can hear it in the pressers. We still believe in Joe. Shedeur's time will come. We're focused on the next game. It's all noise. Hollow. Defensive. Like someone trying to explain why the house is on fire while still holding a lit match behind their back. And while they're spinning, the rest of the league is watching. Hungry. Predatory. Every team with a shaky QB situation sees what the Browns are wasting. They see Shedeur poised, patient, plugged in, and they're already imagining him in their jersey, leading their locker room, bringing that Sanders DNA to their franchise instead. And if Cleveland keeps fumbling this, if they hesitate too long, they might just hand him over on a silver platter. Because this is the NFL. Opportunity doesn't knock twice. And if Shedeur isn't starting soon, someone will come knocking with trade capital so big, it'll test every thread of loyalty this franchise has left to its own future. And here's the ugly truth. The Browns are arrogant enough to consider it. They've done it before. They've let culture-changing players slip through their fingers, only to watch them become stars somewhere else. And if they trade Shedeur because they think he's not ready or he's too valuable to keep on the bench, they'll be repeating the same tragic mistake that's haunted them for decades. Choosing control over courage. Because courage would be starting him. Courage would be saying, hey, we got this one wrong, but we're fixing it now. Courage would be admitting that sometimes the plan changes when the future walks into your building wearing number 14 and shaking up the entire vibe just by being himself. But the Browns have never been good at courage. They've been good at delay, at deflection, at convincing themselves that maybe, just maybe, this mediocre plan will turn out great if we just give it 2 more weeks. But you're not building a champion with 2 more weeks. You're wasting one. And Shedeur? He's waiting. Calm. Focused. But make no mistake, he sees it. He sees the way management hesitates when asked about him. He hears the way they dodge questions, how they never fully commit. He watches the game tape like everyone else. He knows Flacco isn't the answer long-term. And eventually, the silence becomes louder than any speech. That's the moment you lose the locker room. Not because guys are angry, not because Shedeur storms out or causes drama, but because everyone else starts to wonder if the people in charge actually know what they're doing. Because here's the thing about football players, they talk. And when a team sees the same kid impressing in practice, doing the work, building relationships, and still not getting the nod, that's when trust starts to crack. That's when whispers start. That's when the locker room quietly turns against the system that refuses to reward merit. And no, it doesn't always show up in interviews or sideline outbursts, but it shows up where it matters, on the field, in effort, in belief, in the kind of buy-in that championship teams need to survive November and December. If Cleveland keeps ignoring Shedeur's moment, they risk losing more than just games. They risk losing the room. And here's where the stakes explode. If they trade him, it's over. Not just for this season, but for the next 5. Because any team that gives away that kind of player, at that kind of moment, for a pile of picks and cap space, you're not building a winner. You're hitting the reset button. Again, for the 100th time. And fans? They've had enough. This fan base has been through all. The relocations, the 0 to 16 season, the Johnny Manziels, the Josh Rosens, the endless carousel of could-be beans. They've stood by this team through rebuilds, rebrands, and reputation implosions. But this? Watching the one glimmer of sustainable, mature, calm, confident quarterback energy be dismissed or worse, sold. Because of mismanaged ego? That might be the last straw. Because fans aren't stupid. They see who's ready. They see who's leading. And if this team squanders the opportunity again, there won't be sympathy. There'll be rage. And the next time Shedeur Sanders jogs onto the field, it might not be in a Browns jersey. It might be in primetime, carving up Cleveland's secondary while the camera cuts to Stefanski in a hoodie and headset, wondering what went wrong. Let's not get it twisted. They know what's happening. The Browns know Sanders is special. That's why they're so scared to move him. But fear-based leadership doesn't build dynasties. It builds missed windows. And right now, the window is wide open. The fans are ready. The team is ready. And Shedeur? He's been ready. The only people who aren't ready are the ones with the most to lose. So here we are. Another moment. Another crossroads. Does Cleveland finally break the cycle? Do they recognize greatness before it blows up in someone else's stadium? Or do they hesitate, again, and let the football gods deliver one more cruel twist in a city that's already seen too many? Time's ticking. The fans are watching. And Shedeur Sanders? He's just getting warmed up. Drop your take in the comments. Should the Browns trade him, start him, or just admit they've already lost the plot? And don't forget to subscribe. Because if you think this is the end of the drama, you haven't been watching Cleveland long enough. The names change, the stadium upgrades, the jerseys get slicker, the marketing team drops a fancy slogan like Prove It or Cleveland Grit. But at the end of the day, it's the same cursed carousel, spinning faster and louder every year until it flings off another season, another scapegoat, and another what-if quarterback. And right now, that carousel's got Shedeur Sanders strapped to it, and the Browns are acting like they don't even hear the calliope music of doom playing in the background. It's not just negligence, it's willful blindness. Because let's be real, they know what they have. You think the Browns' front office hasn't seen Shedeur's footwork in practice? His command of the huddle? The way the vets lean in when he speaks, not out of duty, but out of respect? You think they didn't notice the way the stadium shifted the second he started warming up on the sidelines during the third quarter of that preseason game? That murmur of electricity, like maybe, just maybe, something was about to finally go right? And yet silence. Shrugging. The same tired he's still learning press answers that no one believes anymore. Because guess what? He's already learned. More than most. And faster than anyone expected. Shedeur isn't just another quarterback in a jersey. He's a walking contradiction to the Browns' entire identity. Competent, composed, and in control. He doesn't panic. He doesn't play hero ball. He just works. And if you're Cleveland, that should terrify you in the best way. Because it means your excuses are gone. You can't hide behind development timelines or game-ready narratives. You can't say he needs more seasoning, when the only thing that looks overcooked is your starting QB's decision-making. Let's talk about that. Because while Shedeur is keeping his head down being professional and doing literally everything you could ask of a rookie, your starter, your plan A, your trust us, we know what we're doing guy, is out here throwing ducks, taking sacks, and leading scoring drives that stall out faster than a college freshman's first car. And look, no hate to Joe Flacco. The man had his time. He has a ring. He's a veteran, a locker room presence, all of that. But this is not 2012. This is not Baltimore. This is not the moment to try and squeeze one more season out of a nostalgia trip when you've got tomorrow's answer sitting right there, in uniform, waiting for his number to be called. And here's where karma gets extra spicy. Because in trying to protect the safe choice, in trying to avoid risk, the Browns are actively creating risk. Every snap that doesn't go to Shedeur is another tick off the clock of this team's short, fragile window. Another missed opportunity. Another thread pulled from the fabric of team chemistry. Because the guys on that roster, they know what time it is. They know Shedeur is different. And players don't care about politics. They care about wins. They care about leadership. They care about walking into battle with someone they believe in. And if the guy under center doesn't have that locker room belief, it doesn't matter what the game plan says. The body language says it all. When Flacco walks back to the huddle after another missed third down, blank stares, frustration, a few claps maybe, but it feels forced. When Shedeur walks on the field in practice, eyes lock in, shoulders square, energy picks up. That's not something you can coach. That's presence. And that's not something you bench unless you're actively working against your own future. So why would the Browns do that? Fear, legacy, ego. Take your pick. Maybe they're scared to admit that a rookie could save a season that was supposed to be led by veterans. Maybe they don't want the heat of starting Sanders too early and watching him struggle. Maybe they're still traumatized from every past QB experiment gone sideways, and they think keeping him in the oven longer will somehow guarantee success. But here's the thing about quarterbacks. They're never fully cooked. You only find out if they're ready when they take that first hit, throw that first pick, get booed, get blitzed, and come back swinging. And something tells me Shedeur can handle it. Not because he's arrogant. Not because he's immune to mistakes. But because he doesn't shrink from pressure. He absorbs it, recycles it, turns it into fuel. That's not just talent. That's temperament. And that's the one thing this franchise has never truly had at the quarterback position. They've had flash. They've had hype. They've had first overall picks and viral personalities and bizarre experiments. But they've never had a quarterback who made leadership look effortless. Until now. So what's the holdup? If the Browns are still flirting with the idea of trading him, they're not just rolling the dice. They're throwing them into the ocean and hoping they float back with a playoff berth. Because let's be clear, Shedeur Sanders is the kind of player you build around, not cash out. This isn't a stock you flip for quick profit. This is a foundation piece. You don't trade tomorrow's stability for today's shallow security, not unless you're already planning to rebuild again. But if they're not trading him, and they still don't start him, then they're just hoarding hope, sitting on gold and pretending it's coal. And that might be even worse. Because fans aren't dumb. They see what's happening. And the moment it becomes undeniable, the moment Sanders starts for another team, or worse, gets his chance too late and this season crumbles, the Browns can't just walk it back. There's no PR campaign big enough to fix this if it goes sideways. No slick interview. No, we always believed in him. No, the timing wasn't right. The fans will know. The team will know. Shedeur will know. And that's the part that really matters. Because right now, he's giving this franchise everything they could ask for. Poise, patience, work ethic, maturity. He's handling the speculation with grace, the pressure with calm, the politics with professionalism. But for how long? How long can you expect someone to sit quietly while the team trips over itself in slow motion? How long can you ask a potential game changer to play decoy? At a certain point, patience turns to resentment. And once that switch flips, there's no going back. So the Browns are on the clock. Not for a game, not for a week, but for the entire arc of this season, and possibly the next 5. They can choose to be brave, to embrace the risk, to throw out the old playbook and build something that actually feels new. Or they can do what they've always done. Wait too long, apologize too late, and add another name to the long cursed scroll of Cleveland quarterbacks who never got their shot at the right time, with the right team, under the right leadership. So which is it going to be? That's the question hanging in the air like fog on Lake Erie. And every week they stall, that fog gets thicker. You can feel it. In the locker room, in the fan base, in every whispered, "What are we doing?" in the hallways of Berea. The Browns have a choice. Courage or comfort. The future or the familiar. Shedeur or regret. Let me know where you stand in the comments. Should the Browns start Sanders now before it's too late? Or will they waste the best chance they've had in years trying to control a narrative that's already left them behind? And don't forget to subscribe, because something tells me this story is far from over. We're just at the edge of the storm. And in Cleveland, the skies are always cloudy with a chance of chaos.